alright, fine. Don't have much time left.
You gotta bring your own batteries.
Okay.
Cause I thought at first it was just the batteries, but
This one's still going off?
it went off.
It did this morning, when we had
It's on
court this
again right
morning.
now, but we'll see how long it stays on.
It would be less than 2 minutes if it's battery.
Okay, great. We'll see, I guess. Alright. Next up, fire tower. We got the letter from Paul Rush. Which out of all the questions I posed to him, he basically answered one. The rest of them was a lot of assumings and maybes, and we reserved the rights, and which was not overly helpful. I was telling Billy earlier, I just had another curveball thrown at me that I hadn't considered, which they asked me what we were gonna do with the lead paint on the tower.
Who was they?
Environmentalist. And I'm like, yeah, cause that was the only paint available back in those days. So I don't know what your proposal was on whether the tower pieces are gonna be stripped and repainted, or?
I think they might be re-dipped, but I'll have to talk to
Yeah, we'll
the
have to-
consultant about it.
Yeah, cause we don't wanna remediate lead on site,
No,
that would be
Now, this tower is the exact same tower as the one that's being put up at the Catskill Visitor Center, over in, is it Shokan?
No, Trump.
And Tremper, and it's the exact same model, and that same consultant is working on that, so he's gonna be familiar with dealing with every aspect of the project. But I can talk to him about,
yeah,
what-
just
what
see if
that is.
he's got a plan on that, or.
I know some of your concerns at a previous meeting, that I wasn't able to attend. I saw in the newspaper you were concerned about, the road building and whether a stormwater, prevention plan would be needed. And, there will be no road building. We had this guy walk the route of the tower
Yeah,
with
Dave-
us.
I know Dave Warren went out and he told me you might need silt fencing, some, he didn't say how much. The other issue that I've got is emergency access. If somebody gets hurt up there, you really need to be able to get an ambulance or something up there.
Well, you would be able to take an ATV, the same as they do on Balsam Lake Mountain with that fire tower there.
But they were assuming that the town was gonna issue the permit, and we can't issue the permit on city property
A permit for what?
to put the tower out there, the building permit. Paul was, in his letter, we were assuming the town would issue the building permit, and we're like, we can't do that. We can't issue a permit to ourselves to put somebody else's tower on a different person's land, we just can't do that. The permit would have to either come from the city, or they would have to pass it off to the state.
Even though it's not the town that is building the tower.
Technically, we are. If we sign the access permit, then we're taking on all the responsibility as basically the owner of the project.
Okay.
We wouldn't be owner of the tower, technically, we wouldn't be owner of the property, but we're owner of the process.
Right.
But if you were to build like a storage facility for highway department, you would be taking out a permit yourself, but the difference is
We
that
could
it
issue
wouldn't
a
be
permit to
on.
ourselves, then the county does it, on their projects. If it's your project on your property, then you can issue the permit.
One thing maybe we should look at, the Delaware County just finished or is almost finished with a communications tower on DEP property down in the town of Tompkins. Basically the same type of situation. They're putting up a tower on DEP property. Who issued the building permit for that?
I'm not sure who issued the permit, I know there was an easement done on that, though, they had to have an easement. And where this tower, the fire tower, they're not proposing an easement. to
I
us.
see.
It's just an access
Okay.
permit, which we would have to review, renew every 5 years.
Right, the Ketzel Mountain Club does want to get the DEP to do an easement for Delhi for access to the tower, because we don't want to do all this work and go to all this expense and then for some reason have the trail closed or something, so we did mention that to them in our proposal, that we would like a public access easement to the tower.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna give us a permanent easement.
Well, they didn't object to it. I know Paul Rush, saw that whole proposal and nobody said, oh, this is a red flag, we're not.
We got a
going
lot of
forward."
non-answers, really. I was kinda disappointed with the letter. He kinda, oh yeah, you can do that, well, unless this, or maybe this, or maybe that. And there's areas where, well, we reserve the right to ask for additional, we assume,
Right,
it's
but as the
kinda, I was
project-
hoping he would give us a little bit clearer, where we could actually say we made progress. And
So, can you tell us some of the specific things that you felt like were left?
Well, the big discussion we had is if for some reason the tower needs to come down. I said to Paul, how fast are you gonna expect the tower to come down if for some reason somebody at the city says it's gotta come down? He said, we would want it down right away and it would be the town's responsibility. So I'm like, okay, so then the town to cover its backside would have to get the club to post a bond
Mhm.
so that there's money to take the tower down. 'Cause
Right,
they're
and
like,
then-
oh, well, you can just, cut the legs off and tip it over and take it down. I'm like, no, I can't, because it's not our tower. The owner wants his tower back, so we can't just, saw it down and drag it away.
Right.
It's gotta be taken back apart. But, and that was, same thing, if you don't do the maintenance, the town would be responsible. They don't want any additional infrastructure, and I know we had talked at one point about having maybe a little cabin or something up there. They don't seem to want that. It would only require a revocable land use permit to be obtained and maintained. The permit is renewable every 5 years, so they're only committing to a 5-year stretch at a time, which kind of goes against them considering giving us an easement.
Right, I think that part of that is that that's just their standard, the way their land use permits are, and
I
and these
understand
things
that, but
are.
my attorney has a fit about language like this. We pay him to look out for our best interest, and he's concerned with the wording on a lot of this.
Okay.
That it's kind of just, they want, it's like us issuing the permit. It's like, well, we issue a permit to ourselves to build on somebody else's land? That leaves a lot of wiggle room where, oh, I didn't tell them they could build that tower. They just issued themselves a permit and did it.
Right.
So
I,
it's,
I think we're getting way far ahead with all the discussion here.
well, we are, but
Basic-
you want a commitment
well,
from us.
Well,
to
let's-
ensure it,
let me,
and
let me, let
We
me just
need to
put in a couple of.
commitment on what is gonna be
Right, exactly.
going on down the road.
And that will be. What we're asking for here is, if the Catskill Mountain Club, along with the town of Delhi, can jump through all these hoops that DEP puts up there, if that can all be done through contractual arrangements, permits, safety requirements, road building, and everything, if that can all be done, will the town then say, yes, we will then own the tower and insure it? I think we're getting,
Lease it.
lease it out, whatever. This is way on down the road. All the stuff that he's putting down, that Paul Rush put down there, is going to be negotiated as we go along. If for some reason they say, no, we can't do this part of it, then perhaps the whole thing falls apart. The town does not have to own the tower, or lease the tower, or insure the tower.
Right.
When we're talking probably at least 5 to 6 years down the road before enough money can be even put together to even consider putting this thing up. This is if we do this, and if the town helps us along with all this permitting process, if this all comes to fruition, will then the town lease the tower and insure the tower? So I think
If I
we're,
could get an answer that was all we were gonna be on the hook for,
yeah,
I wouldn't have a problem with it.
but we're gonna find out what we're on the hook for as we move along. And if some point something comes up and you say, whoa, this is far more than the town of Delhi wants to take care of, then the project is done. You
And-
don't have to do anything.
And you haven't really spent any money, the total expense that you've had is the time that you're spending here considering it, it's, you know,
Well,
we're
having
not,
our attorney look at
Right,
But-
proposals,
and your
the
attorney
letter
would,
to the city.
right, and your attorney would be involved all the way along.
I hope it's 3 years, not 6, but,
Well.
Like I said, it's not that we don't like fire towers, I'm just really leery about dealing with the city. I've been lied to by the city
Mhm.
before. Things have changed after the fact,
Right,
and I don't wanna create a great big ball of stone rolling downhill that some poor future board's gonna inherit. Cause I know every time you turn around, they're requiring a stormwater plan. And I can't believe they're saying now, well, you might have to do some silt fencing.
well, the city of New York does extensive logging on their property. And at no point have they ever had to do any stormwater runoff in any of the towns where they do their logging. They're doing logging right now in
They
the
make
town.
loggers that log locally do silt fencing and all sorts of stuff.
But not up on the mountain, close to the road, yes, where they have a landing, yes.
Wherever there's a stream crossing, a wetland,
Yeah,
a swamp, a mud puddle,
they're
they're
logging
very
on,
picky.
they're logging on our Shavertown trail right now, and they built a little bridge over a little stream, you know, they,
And they just recently logged in the town of Tompkins along the Finger Lakes Trail. And there was, right in the same area that the county's put up the communications tower.
if you guys said, yes, we wanna pursue this, we'll be working out all these details with the DEP, and if at any point something is a problem, you can put up a red flag and say, you know, we can't be involved in this. There's nothing, you committing to us now doesn't say, you can't say something is unworkable and we wanna back out. We just don't wanna spend all of our time. I'm doing this as a volunteer, Rick is doing this as a volunteer, I have a full-time job. I can't spend a lot of time only to find out it's not doable because the Catskill Mountain Club can't buy insurance for that because we don't have any real property, and, you know, we're at a loss. If for us to continue down the exploratory road, we need to have a partner, but there's nothing that says you've signed in blood and no matter what the DEP says, you're on the hook.
Mark, can I just ask 2 quick questions? One is, can the public ever see this letter that was from the state? And
Yeah,
number
we
2,
can get you-
because we got a ton of environmental lawyer hiker friends that we could have look at it too and may have some ideas. Also, some of the projects that we look at throughout the county in the Catskills and outside of the Catskills have those with fire towers, and their histories are interesting, and Rick's done work on those too. But the second question was, there is an advantage to Delhi and the town. So I just wanted to remind, I think the very first meeting where it was brought up, that, I mean, some people find disadvantages, but I think the chamber and other people find advantages to having a fire tower, because it brings a lot of people in. And in terms of rescues, our 911 would go up to the top of Bramley anyway to take care of somebody, whether there was a fire tower or not a fire tower. But they have, actually, more than once, so, anyway, that wasn't two, but.
No, like I said, it's an interesting idea. The problem we've got is nobody has ever done it on New York City owned property. And we've just got nothing. And with the letter I got, we still have nothing. It's like, well, we think you could do that, or Elsa, make sure you've got copies of this that they can pick up.
Just one thing I wanna mention, the town of Tompkins is basically in the same boat. They already own a fire tower, it is standing, they didn't have to put it up, but they do own it, they do insure it, they're submitting now for grants to restore it. Why does the town of Tompkins not have any problems with it, and the town of Delhi does?
Because the tower was there when the city bought the property.
Well, what
So
difference
it's
does it
a-
make?
it's
They
an
still,
existing
once they own it,
recreation
it's still the same situation. Once it's done and put up,
To be honest with you, I think the city should have made them take it down. They're supposed to be buying vacant land. And that's what I asked about this. I said, you know, when you do an easement and you give an easement to DEC, is DEC gonna be okay with developing a vacant piece? We believe the DEC easement will allow it.
Well, I've spoken to Paul, forgetting his, Bill Rudge at the DEC, and also to the resources manager, and they say, you know, you have to apply before we can give an okay, but they didn't see any problem with it.
They haven't run it past legal. The watershed negotiations, we've had a lot of tentative agreements, and when DEC's
But-
lawyers
But
and
why would
New York
we,
City's lawyers get a hold of it.
but why
the
would we
agreement
say
is-
no now and kill a project that would be so good for Delhi? Because maybe when they run it past legal, it won't fly. Why don't we get to the running it past
I don't wanna
legal?
give you false hope that this is all gung ho and go, and then when we see something we don't like and raise a red flag, you get upset with us.
oh, we know it's not a go. I mean, all done and go. There
I mean,
may
I
be
think the
big
whole board
hurdles
is
down the
going to say,
road.
we like the idea. You know, and like I said, if it was just a matter of us backing it, it's one thing, but,
It sort of is at this point, though, and I think.
well, at this point, we're just,
But
I
I
mean,
do
we could
wanna
do a letter supporting the idea, but I don't wanna sign an agreement that we're, you know, gonna insure it and we're gonna do this and that.
Yeah, but it's an
Say
if.
that.
You're going to insure it if everything is done.
Well, I just wanna say, I'll be very quick. I read the letter too, and I get where Mark's coming from, and I know that it's not a partner that we have full trust in, talking about the city. But I don't wanna let that past or that fear of what they are gonna try to do stop us from trying to do something good together here locally. So I think that we're at a point, all we have to do is say, yeah, we trust each other. And they're actually trusting us, that we're not gonna just back out of this because we changed our mind. So that's what I see as the commitment here, is that we're saying, if you guys wanna do all this work, knowing that the city might stick it to us, and then we have to cancel the whole thing, then go for it. I mean, I have no reservations at all. about
You
it.
might not use that wording, but
Yeah, I mean, I really,
Just being honest, that's all.
but I do feel strongly that we should allow this, we should not be the obstacle to this, and I just want it to move forward at this point.
And I just want everybody to be aware, there's gonna be extra costs on top of putting the tower up. You know, I don't want you to think because you've raised the tower money that we're all done. Because
Oh,
there
no.
will be maintenance there, and my
Definitely.
attorney is gonna demand that we have a performance bond for taking the tower down if need be, so, I mean, that's an expense we're gonna have to deal with too, but I mean, as long as you're aware, If the city changes their mind, wants a stormwater plan,
Right,
who knows what that's gonna cost? Who knows what kind of road improvements they would ask for, but
exactly.
it's one of those you don't know till you get into it with them.
Right, but as I said, the guy who would bring the pieces up to the tower and put in the footing has walked the access roads with me, and he thinks that some pickup trucks and ATVs are all that's needed to get up to the top, and work on the roads is not needed. And this is a guy who's been putting towers up all over the country on, you know.
I will warn you, you're gonna have a tough time finding an inspector that will certify concrete that's mixed in small batches. That'll be,
I think he's probably worked
that'll be
with Zach
tough, he's
before.
gonna have to do a lot of samples for each batch, you know, so they can be tested, but that gets to be a pain when
Yeah.
when you're mixing
Again, this
small
guy's
batches.
done this before, this is, you know, not his 10th tower, it's, you know, his 50th tower or something
Well,
like
I've been in building inspecting for 22 years, I know the good and the bad and the
that.
ugly.
Yeah, no, I understand, and he's the one who said we should put in new footings rather than try to use the old footings, because we could do these tests that are expensive and then have to put in the new footings anyway. Let's just get good
Yeah.
footings that we're, you know, completely sure of and things like that. I mean, I have the utmost confidence in this guy, he just, you know, just knows his stuff. And he's the one the DEC has picked to do their tower. He did a tower in Guantanamo Bay in Cuba.
Got some shooting on
Yeah, probably.
or it's a live fire tower. Well, like I said, if you wanna move forward, I mean, I don't think the insurance costs, I talked to Chris, I think, you know, as far as the liability, we can handle that. Obviously, the owner of the tower is gonna want some kind of insurance policy on his tower, which will have to be addressed, you know, separately.
The value of the tower itself, is that what you mean
Yeah.
It's $10,000 at the most, the actual,
Yeah, the cost to insure it itself is minimal,
Yeah.
Right,
$250, $300,
Right.
you know.
when you have a town insurance policy. For us, it's
And that's for the
unattainable.
structure, that's not including the liability, but we already have, you know, we would just have to add that particular location to our policy. It's not a huge, big issue, especially for a town. So, you know, but like you say, that's down the road, we don't know if we'll ever even get there. But
Right, you
I
won't
do-
add it to the policy until we're,
Right, and, you know, I hear where both Mark and Matt are coming from. I agree, you know, with Matt in regards to, you know, we're really, all we're doing, if we do decide to move forward, is we're just giving you the go-ahead, and we really aren't saying one thing or the other. We're supportive of it, we would like to see it happen, but again, it's if all these hurdles can be addressed and everybody's comfortable with that.
right, we don't even
both
know
sides.
all the hurdles yet. We don't wanna spend all the time finding out all of them
Right,
if we can't go across the first one with you guys. That's the next thing is to start finding out all the hurdles.
right, and I think, you know, we're fortunate that Mark has, you know, has the experience with working with the city as he has through some of the other committees he served on. And I understand his frustration and where he's coming from when he's concerned about these certain issues and not trusting fully in our partner the way we should be able to. But I do, you know, I would support, you know, moving forward cautiously and making sure that both sides are, you know, the issues are addressed to our satisfaction as well. Because my concern again was a future board coming on, you know, we're gonna saddle them with something, and I feel, I have a concern about that, but, as long as we move cautiously and cover the bases and make sure everything is, you know, everyone's satisfied with everything, and it's to everybody's benefit here, I wouldn't have an issue with that, but, you know, I think it has to be, each step has to be met,
Right.
and each thing has to be addressed to the satisfaction of both parties.
Right, and we're in total agreement with you on that.
If I may just make one comment. Great project, it's a private project. I'm not exactly sure what the request is being made at the board, but I don't wanna see read in the paper next week that the board has endorsed this project and is now behind the project and making it go, misleading the New York City people as to where the board stands at this point. Because until the board has the answers to the very questions you're discussing here tonight, I don't think the board can express an opinion or take a position other than to say, private group, go ahead, we wish you well, it'll be nice if you can get it accomplished. But we can't endorse it, I don't think, at this point, which I think if you're being asked to commit to this project, that's where the misinterpretation is gonna come in, that the town has already taken a position and blessed it, not knowing what the facts or the cost is gonna be. That's just my thought.
That's my concern, and that's our attorney's concern, you know, is whether we say we like the project and we wish you well, is enough for you?
No, that's not enough.
See, that's,
We just want a commitment that we can work together with the town to move this thing forward. And without the town saying, yes, you can work with us, we will meet along with the Catskill Mountain Club and the town, with the EP, with the contractor, and with the owner of the tower, and move this thing along, but we can't do it on our own.
But that's the whole point, as a
The
taxpayer.
the town has to go along with us and help and be
Yeah,
part of
but
that.
what you're asking the board to do is to commit to a project that's a private project, the costs of which, unless you have numbers tonight, do you have the actual numbers that this person had said they were gonna put footings in and erect this thing? What are the numbers that he's even thrown out
The
there?
costs of those things are going to be raised by the Catskill Mountain Club through applications for grants and
Yeah, but what are the
fundraising.
numbers? What are the numbers? I just
I
want-
don't have details, estimate $100,000 for
Well-
the whole thing.
I have the original Bramley Mountain Club's estimate for reconstructing the Clark Tower. We're still talking about the Clark Fire
Yes,
Tower, right? Back in 1998, the cost to reconstruct that tower was estimated to be over $90,000 at that time. And we're looking at 17 years, well, how many years? 1998, 21 years ago. So if it was $90,000 at that time, and it was being done by, from what I gather from the paperwork that I've seen, it was by the manufacturer of the tower itself. And again, in reconstructing the tower, it's gotta be done by people with the knowledge that will not compromise the reconstruction of the tower. So I don't know who or what the club has done in that regard, but you can't, in my opinion, and I'm just talking as a simple taxpayer, you can't ask the board to commit to say, we're endorsing this project, and then we're gonna read in the paper that the town has already gone ahead and endorsed the project, and we don't have a clue as to costs, how, when, what, where, and what it's gonna actually impact the town tax dollars wise, and
Think what-
liability wise.
I just need a clarification from the two of you as CMC members. Is your expectation that we would commit to insuring the tower?
Yes.
And beyond that, it's that we would work with you but not take on any other costs?
Right.
Yeah, but once it's up, who's gonna do it?
The Catskill Mountain
If the
Club.
Catskill Mountain doesn't have the money to do it, and they're a not-for-profit, small club, and the cost of renovating, I shouldn't say renovating, of maintaining the tower in the timeliness and the manner in which it's supposed to be maintained, who's gonna absorb that cost if the club doesn't have the money to do it?
This has been discussed
Yes.
many times.
Where? I haven't heard it.
We've discussed it here, we've discussed it in informational sessions. So the point is that they're gonna raise all of the money and then the project begins. And by all the money, I mean the money to build the tower, the money to maintain the tower, the money to take down the tower. All of this was discussed and then it's gonna go in an account. And and the town taxpayer is just going to enjoy it and
So-
pay for the insurance.
And as the supervisor said, a bond will have to be posted in a sufficient amount to cover those anticipated costs, so that the tax dollars of the rest of the town residents isn't used to now maintain or insure the property if the club can't do it.